welcome back to another AZ Ray video. Hope you guys are doing awesome. Thanks for clicking this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment below. Comment, go into the community tabs. I'm always reading all the comments. I read all your suggestions. Let's help this little channel grow, guys. This channel is for you. This researcher is willing to do a deep dive on anything. Anything. So yeah, take advantage of that. Today, we're going to talk about the film Censor. To try to keep in the same theme of Halloween, spooky, horror thriller. This is definitely a psychological horror thriller. Once again, it's not that scary. So if you want to watch it with someone who doesn't have as much of a scary tolerance, I definitely recommend this movie. As far as rating wise, what would I give this movie? Yeah, I would give it, I'd give it pretty highly. I liked it more than Marnie, and I liked it more than Resurrection. So I'd have to give it a higher rating. Let's go with 8.5. I'm debating 8.5 or 8.4. Yeah, let's go with 8.5. I'm going to give this movie an 8.5. I almost want to give it a 9, but I can't give it a 9. I'll probably show this like another clip or short or breakdown how my rating system works. I promised you guys I'm not just saying numbers. There's actually like an equation that I'm doing in my head. It basically breaks down to like if I feel like the film moved me, how well I feel like the film achieved its goal. Like if this is a horror film, did it horrify me? Did it scare me? Did I care about the characters? Did I care about the characters? Did I care about the side characters? Did I care about the settings, the background? All those things, in my opinion, have to play a role. Is it for everyone? That's kind of a vague statement, but I mean like, can the regular person watch this and be like, oh, okay, you know, because sometimes there's films that are just made for like particular niche audiences, which are fine, but that also affects the way I do ratings. But yeah, I give this one 8.5 because it did a really good job, and arguably probably one of the better horror endings in general. This goes without saying, guys. This is a movie breakdown, so spoiler warning, right? So the movie Censor. So the movie Censor has to do with this agency that is in charge of censoring people in the 1980s. This story set in the UK, but this story in this series of events is not unique to the UK, because censorship is something that's been going on in every country throughout the world, especially in the 1800s with the creation of press, news outlets, newspapers, magazines, you name it, right? The government's always wanted some kind of regulation on different mediums, right? Even though freedom of press and freedom of speech is supposed to be a thing that most countries generally respect, it goes with a grain of salt, right? Government on some level wants to have control because their excuse, just like normal things, right? This is an anthropological term that we often sacrifice certain rights for the illusion of security, right? If we think the governments are gonna protect us more, then we allow them to take advantage of our rights, right? An example of that is one of the rights that always gets violated is our rights to privacy. And one of the most common ways those things get violated is through like our cookie settings on our laptops. They can track our ratings, and then all these different consumers can basically market things to us in advertisements. And there's another level, the way our privacy gets violated is also with the TSA or various airlines, that the way you have to check into airports, right? That's a violating of your privacy. Those scans see your body naked. They make sure that you're not bringing any kind of weapons or any kind of paraphernalia, drugs, all these illegal things. So that's where censoring plays that much of a role. And that's what I mean when I say that we sometimes give up some rights for some sense of security. And I found the film just very, very fascinating because there's two things that are happening at the same time. We're seeing the main character struggle, and we're seeing her trying to find her sister, and we're trying to perceive exactly what happened in that story, but at the same time, there's this bigger message that's happening in the film that has to do with censorship. And it's constantly always asking the viewer, is censorship good? And it's so deep and so profound on so many levels, right? There's a level of censorship when it comes to her parents, because her parents are trying to process this grief of her daughter, right? And they're trying to censor Enid in a lot of ways. Enid's the main character. They're trying to censor her. Like, her parents almost don't want her to grieve anymore. Her parents are almost saying like, hey, get over it. Your sister was gone. It's been over maybe 10 years or so. And it's like, move on, you know? And it's very heavy. And then we also have her going through work, having this hard job because she censors films. That's her form of censorship. And she decides if like these films are too gory, too inappropriate, too sexual, too many drugs, etc. Because there's this correlation and this belief system that violence or watching violence creates more violence. I'm going to provide a link in the description below, but lots of new research studies have found that it's actually not the case. There's old research that arguably argued that, but you could tell that research was a form of propaganda, and the sample data and the collection data was definitely manipulated in a way so the outcome could be kind of skewed, and so the government could be like, see right here, but it's not actually true. They've done various studies, and I'm going to put one of the studies in the description that basically prove that people that watch crime experience crime, whether that's like, what I mean by that is like watching video games, listening to music or videos or movies. It actually doesn't create more crime. It actually stops people from creating crime, and it actually becomes a form of like a cathartic ventilation. It actually prevents crime more so than it doesn't. So yeah, that we know that for a fact, and I'm sure you guys already know that on some level, right? If you think about irrationality, right? I have played violent video games. I've seen all kinds of crazy, gory movies or action movies, and it's never made me be like, you know what I feel like doing? I just feel like chopping some legs. I just feel like being violent. Like, no, you know? Yes, there is a level of catharsis through violence. You know, me personally, I'm a martial artist. I've done like boxing, kickboxing, MMA, jiu-jitsu for several years. So yeah, there's a form of violence to it, but it's in a controlled environment. It's safe. And yes, there's a form of release, you know. I have a punching bag in my garage that I punch all the time, you know, and it's liberating and it's freeing, but it's, you know, it's a cathartic thing, but it's not violence in the traditional sense of like hurting someone else, right? And yeah, I really enjoyed this film because of the idea of censorship, right? And it's just, it's such a profound idea, right? And there's also censorship in the other aspect, right? We censor sometimes the people around us. Enid is too scared to open up to all her coworkers around her. She censors herself. She gives this image. I'm this hardworking girl that works late nights, that does a bunch of overtime, has no social life, but I work hard. And when one of her coworkers tries to confront her about the situation, I believe his name was Frank. I believe the character's name was Frank, when he was just like, hey, you know, you can talk to me. I could tell that last film we saw really triggered you. And instead of using that as an opening, as an opportunity for her to uncensor herself, to feel unfiltered, to feel open, to feel welcome, she censors herself and shuts down and says she's fine, when she's clearly not. Because as we know, especially if you watch the film, that she's got triggered by the film because the director based the film on her story, because the director claims that all his stories, his horror stories, are based on true stories. So, and that's why it was very triggering for her when she saw that film, when she had to control the censoring of it. She was like, oh wow, right? It hit her profoundly because it was literally her story. But there was little changes done to it, of course. That's why she even later on, towards the end of the movie, confronts the director and says, hey, that's not what happened, right? And let's get into it. I want to just talk about the ending, because wow. Wow. One of the better endings, in my opinion, for a horror film. It was great because we see this perplexities of point of views, right? She's essentially kidnaps this lady that she thinks is her sister, when the lady clearly says it's not her sister. But the director does an amazing job of just making us think two things at once, right? They show you the perspective of the captured person, and we see that she's like freaking out, like, get me out of here, and it like goes in and out. And then we see Enid's point of view, and we see how, like, oh my goodness, like, I did it, this is it, this is my euphoric haha, this is my happy ending, I was able to do this. And it's like she finally gets the gratification that she's been wanting to her whole life. And we even see a scene of like her parents like hugging her and like, oh my gosh, you did it, right? Becomes this ultimate culmination of happiness that she wants in her life. But as we know, it's not what happened. Unfortunately, she had a psychotic breakdown, similar to another film that I reviewed, which was Resurrection. Definitely check it out. Honestly, all these films lately tend to have psychotic breakdowns that I've reviewed so far, right? The Substance had a psychotic breakdown. Marnie had a psychotic breakdown. Resurrection had a psychotic breakdown. This one had a psychotic breakdown. Yeah, lots of psychotic breakdowns. Because I guess on some level, they're kind of normal, right? Even if you haven't had a psychotic breakdown in your life, you probably have had some kind of breakdown, some kind of low point, right? But I hope not as low as this person, and if it has been, don't tell nobody. But her psychotic breakdown leads to murder, right? And she does these atrocious things and murders, this beast man character. Hey. But going back to the ending I was talking about, the film ended so well, and it played a lot of homage to the 80s politics, censorship, talked about Margaret Thatcher, which the American equivalent to Margaret Thatcher would be like would be Reagan. So it was just this time of like big government, right, trying to take control of things, foreseeing future recessions through credit fraud, through changing the gold standard, right? And so there was this big change, this big arm race where we have the Cold War looming in the background. We have all these multi-issues that's making the world, in a lot of cases, almost wanting to become conservative again in a lot of ways. And there's this battle between like censorship and non-censorship. So the question I have for you, do you guys think censorship's okay? Do you think censorship's valid? Is there a place for censorship? Personally, I think it's a super hard question. Because in my heart, I want to say you should never censor anything. But on some level, you should censor and monitor and control your children's lives and kind of nurture them in the right way. And then slowly tell them things and explain things to them when you feel like they're ready. But it's tricky. I kind of get the censorship too. I don't think there's anything wrong with quote unquote protecting someone. It's a funky one. What do you guys think? Please comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And thank you for watching another AZ Ray video.